Can you imagine what it would be like to be lost? To not know where your next meal is coming from? To not have a warm place to sleep at night? This is what it's like if you're one of the millions of stray dogs and cats that wander the streets homeless each year. It's a frightening and dangerous place to be.
Originally I was looking for a soft-coated Wheaten Terrier, but I really wanted to rescue a dog. I had heard that Tucker had been wandering the streets of Wenatchee for about 2 weeks. I saw Tucker's picture and I read his bio and it was perfect. It seemed like a perfect match. And within, I think the next day, I called the shelter and then went out to see him.
Each year, approximately 8 million cats and dogs end up in shelters across the country. Where do all these animals come from? The main problem is overpopulation.
The reproduction of cats happens very quickly. Most recent statistics say that 2 cats in 7 years will create 420,000 offspring. So it's very difficult for shelters to manage that kind of a load.
As tough as it is to find homes for unwanted animals today, the odds are much better than they were just 13 years ago. In 1996, Betsy and Jared Saul came up with a novel idea to create an online adoption website. Hoping to take advantage of the Internet's capability to connect local area rescue groups with potential adopters, petfinder.com was begun. In 1995, there were more than 12 million animals being euthanized in shelters every year. In 2008, that number was just 4 million. Today, petfinder.com is responsible for 65% of every adoption that takes place in the United States. This means that they are directly responsible for about 1.5 million adoptions each year. Virtually all rescue groups and city shelters use petfinder.com.
We use petfinder.com to list all of our adoptable animals, and when I say all of our adoptable animals, most people think of dogs and cats, but we also include a variety of critters, so gerbils, hamsters, rabbits, roosters, you name it, we've put it on Petfinder. It's not just in Seattle, we adopt them all over the United States. If the animal is not dangerous and is not wild and is not feral, they get adopted, and that was not the case before we started using Petfinder. Our organization spends $0, and yet it contributes to almost all of our adoptions.
I remember one adoption. I had a kitty his name is Moon Pie, and a really awesome cat. And the woman who adopted him was one of those people who her thought process was very methodical. So by the time she met Moon Pie, she knew he met all of her criteria. And then it was just left to the magic of the chemistry between the two. And it worked out beautifully.
We got a yellow lab mix. Just a plain yellow lab mix. We took him in from a shelter in Vancouver, Washington. He was in foster care. He was a very nice dog, but he was not purebred. He had a lovely face. We got some good pictures. A woman in Bakersfield, California saw him, decided she wanted him. We don't ship dogs out, and I was very discouraging to her, and I said, well, you have to come meet the dog. So she did. She flew up, met the dog, and drove him back home. She just loves him. It's a remarkable story. I mean, we don't do out-of-state adoptions, but I guess we did, and it would have never happened without Petfinder.
What it does is not only opened up windows for, adoptions to the public. I mean, now our adoptions used to be just Wenatchee, the surrounding area. I mean, now we're doing a lot of Seattle adoptions, Montana, Idaho, Oregon. I mean, people are driving for these animals. We used to have probably a 60% euthanasia rate for dogs, and now we're down to 0.
I was working full-time running a business, so I didn't have a lot of time to go driving shelter to shelter. And plus, you walk into a shelter, it's really emotional to not, to see all these animals. Where the internet, I mean, it's still emotional to see their stories, but it's not like seeing them, where you want to, take each puppy home. It's like being in a candy store, there's like all these, like, I want that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. If it wasn't for Petfinder, I never would have found Tucker, and he's my best friend.
Calling all friends and people I met on the way down. I'm calling all friends and people I don't even know. I'm calling on high. I wanna believe there's a way now. I'm too tired to pretend. I don't wanna be alone. I'm calling all